So anyway, I'm going to read an excerpt for you from Edge of Insanity. Now this is the unedited version, and I'm reading it, so please forgive me. So let's see. Are you guys ready? Curious, he rubbed his lips against hers. This time, his body stiffened in surprise when her lips parted and she ran her tongue along his top lip. Sliding his arm under her head, he rubbed his lips across hers again. "You are such a tease," she muttered, sliding her hands up his arms to his shoulders. "If you are going to kiss me, you might as well do it. Because I have to tell you, this might be the only chance you get, darling." Edge relieved a small grunt of disagreement at her words. He liked having her under him. For the past 3 weeks, the woman under him had kept him from giving up. The first 2 weeks had been pure living hell. If he had thought he'd been through torture before, what he experienced the first few days proved that a warrior could have his insides ripped apart while being eaten alive. Bailey had called it withdrawals. Lena had called it a living hell. In one of his lucid moments, he'd asked her to explain what that meant. A shiver ran through his body at the memory. He felt her stiffen and pull back as far as she could until she could see his face. "Are you okay?" she asked, her gaze moving over his face. A wry smile curved Edge's lips. "No," he answered, pressing his hips down. "Will you make me feel better?" The worry in her eyes dissolved. "I swear you've been hanging out with Andy and Marla too long," she said, pushing against his chest. Move before I make you hurt there in a different way." Edge chuckled. Instead of moving off of her, he bent his head and rubbed his nose along her cheek. Pleasure swept through him at the intimate act of a male of his species showing affection to a female. "I don't want you to go out without me," he stated. Lena turned her head to the side. Edge took advantage of her exposing her slender neck to him to bend and nip the soft flesh. He was rewarded when her hips jerked. A soft hiss slipped from her lips when she felt his increased desire. "I have to go. You are well enough to be left with the others. Just don't try to do anything stupid, or I've given them permission to kick your ass out," she murmured, her hands going back and forth between pushing him away and pulling him closer. "What the hell are you doing?" "I am courting you. It is something I learned on your planet. There was a nurse there named Chelsea. She was very interesting. Her husband Thomas was also very enlightening," Edge replied, pressing his lips over her pulsing vein. "I want to mark you as mine." "You want to?" "Oh, hell no." "Move," Lena said, pushing harder this time. Edge rolled to the side, confused by Lena's panicked tone. She rolled the opposite direction, half falling from the bed before she straightened. Edge sat up and watched her run a nervous hand over her dark brown hair before she adjusted her shirt. Rising to his feet, he frowned when she stepped back a couple of feet. "What is wrong?" Edge asked. He took a step toward her, only to pause when she held out her hand and took another step away from him. Her throat moved nervously up and down along with her hands. Finally, she released a barely audible curse and looked up at him. "Listen. I know that you think you are attracted to me in some sort of way, but it isn't real. I mean, you may think it is real, but it really isn't. Real, I mean. I think they probably have some fancy name for it in the medical or science world. I was never very good at either one, so I couldn't tell you what it might be. I just know that it is something that makes a person feel like there's something real when there really isn't, and I really don't think we should go there, if you know what I mean," she finished in a voice that faded on the last word. Confused, he returned her gaze. "I fear I do not understand any of what you just said. Can you repeat it?" he asked, rubbing his hand over the back of his neck. So that is not a very good reading, but that's a reading. from edge of insanity. So